Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Of course, we've seen loadouts evolve quite a bit ever since the start of Warzone. If you remember way back when the game first launched, things were very interesting to say the least, right? There were a lot of thermal sights, there was a lot of cold-blooded and smokes, and just some weird setups in general compared to what we're used to now. But something that caught on pretty quickly was running overkill to get that second primary weapon to use as more of an ideal secondary compared to some of the pistols or even the launchers. Throwback to the RPG meta at one point in time. But today I wanted to break down the best secondaries we currently have here in Warzone to run on those overkill setups. So if you enjoy the video or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in COD, the best setups, all the latest news, you'll find it all right here. So feel free to subscribe and maybe even turn on those post notifications. Now to start off, by far one of my favorite secondaries to run is that of the Kar98k. You can pair this well with an SMG to balance out that class to give it some better range, or you can even run it with like a close range and medium range based AR like the Ram or the M4. But overall, the Kar is a beast of a sniper in the current meta. It's got pretty good damage. It is going to one-shot, headshot enemies, even through full armor, which just makes getting those kills or those knocks that much more satisfying. And personally, I just love it because it doesn't really feel super heavy or slow. The Kar is by far my favorite sniper in the game, no doubts there, and definitely a great secondary to run overall. So here I'm using the monolithic suppressor, let's be real, pretty basic one there. The 27.6-inch barrel for better range and velocity, the tac laser for better speed and stability, the sniper scope, however, the variable zoom scope is also pretty good, really just comes down to preference there. Then finally, I've been messing around with the comb stock, that's definitely a solid choice. You could also run the stippled grip tape though, or even something like focus to reduce that flinch. Any of those are going to be great options as well. Now, moving on to the next weapon, we've got to talk about the Cold War MP5, what is statistically one of the best weapons in the game, but as we've seen with other weapons, for instance, the MG34, just because something is really good on paper doesn't necessarily always mean it's extra spicy in game. However, lo and behold, the MP5 can hold its own in this meta, and it's going to be a great choice in terms of a secondary to run with like a sniper or an AR or an LMG, you name it, but also in terms of just a general meta weapon. It behaves extremely similar to that of the Modern Warfare MP5. It actually has a slightly better TTK, but it actually has less mobility, so sort of just depends on which pro you're looking for specifically when choosing between these two. But overall, the Cold War MP5 can and will fry in almost any loadout. So here I'm rocking the agency suppressor. As we know, it's basically the same thing as the monolithic. I've got the task force barrel, which is pretty much the only barrel you want to run on any of the Cold War SMGs. I'm also using the field agent grip for better control, the 50-round drum since the fast mag doesn't work right, then finally the combat stock for better mobility. Then next up, let's talk about the Tundra. This thing is easily the best Cold War sniper here in Warzone, at least in my own opinion. Very comparable to like the HDR or even the AX50. That said, you can actually give the Tundra the best velocity out of any sniper in the game with the right attachments. So this thing certainly has the potential to be an absolute beast, especially once the Cold War attachments are actually working correctly, whenever that may happen. Once that day does come, I can see this really being a top choice for a lot of snipers out there just because it's got the power, it's got the range, and its mobility really isn't that bad whatsoever, especially compared to some of the other snipers out there. Now the setup here is a bit strange. If you follow me on TikTok, you may have already seen this one. Gotta throw the plug in there here and there. But anyways, right now I am using the wrap suppressor for better velocity, and obviously this is going to keep me off the minimap as well. I've got the recon barrel on there for better velocity too, and actually those two attachments together give you the best velocity out of any sniper we have, just a heads up. Really nice bonuses there. Then I've got the bipod on there since that doesn't really hurt it in any negative way. The infiltrator grip could also be really nice though, especially after it works as intended. Then I've also got the 7-round mag on there for a bit of extra ammo with no real drawbacks. And finally, the Royal and Cross 4x scope, which has a pretty good zoom, so you can get that sort of visible range buff, if you will. However, this also doesn't have any glint that the enemies can see, so it keeps you a bit more stealthy in that regard. Again, a very nice sort of secret bonus to have with that attachment, so overall, a very fun sniping setup. Moving on though, of course, we've already talked about the Cold War MP5. Now though, we gotta talk about the Modern Warfare MP5 because even though it's been in the meta pretty much since day one, it is still a fantastic choice for a secondary here in Season 1, almost a whole year later. Like I said earlier, both of the MP5s are very similar when it comes to just their overall stats. The Modern Warfare MP5 though does excel a bit with its mobility, so it's even better for that run and gun loadout with a nice AR in my mind. And its recoil is pretty much non-existent, right? It's a bit easier than the Cold War alternatives, so just like in the past 10 months or so, you can't really go wrong with using the MW MP5. And here I'm running the usual setup of the monolithic integral suppressor, the Merc foregrip for better accuracy, the 45 round mags, the icon itself, the Stippy Grippy, and either sleight of hand or the 5mW laser. Both of those are going to be a great final attachment. Now, another no-brainer for the best secondaries is of course the Mac10, the big Mac10, probably one of the most common weapons you'll find in a loadout in Warzone right now. This thing is just incredibly good as a secondary on nearly any setup. You compare it with a sniper, with a rifle, with an LMG, the Mac10 is gonna do what it needs to do. You know, it's a perfect close range weapon basically. I mean, it's got almost no recoil, it's got pretty good range for an SMG at the end of the day, a great fire rate paired with some pretty nice damage. It's just gonna bring the heat in every single gunfight, and that's been the case ever since it was added into the game. And on it, I've got the agency suppressor, the task force barrel yet again, the field agent grip, the 53 round drum. Again, the fast mag is broken here, so we pretty much have to run that. Then I also have the combat stock on there too. Then the final two weapons I've got today are each kind of honorable mentions in a sense. The first of which is going to be the Bullfrog, basically the Cold War version of the Bison, except unlike the Modern Warfare one, this one is actually usable. The bullet for bullet TTK on the Bullfrog is actually extremely competitive. It can technically outgun weapons like the Mac10 and the MP5. However, its fire rate is going to bring it back a bit and make it so that the Mac10 and the MP5 and whatnot can outgun it in the right scenario. But this thing has a super clean iron sight, pretty minimal recoil, good range for what it's worth. Again, just a great choice for an SMG secondary. And here I've got the GRU suppressor, basically just like the agency, but in disguise. The task force barrel yet again, the 5mW laser sight, the Spetsnaz grip, then also no stock just to make it a bit better up close where it's gonna thrive the most. And then finally, I figured we should throw in at least one secondary that doesn't require overkill. And really, why not go with the dual magnums from Cold War, which are actually surprisingly good. Now keep in mind, they're no pre-patch snake shots for Modern Warfare, right? But they are kind of close. They can one or I guess technically two tap players with the akimbo setup if you are up close. They can definitely control CQB fights if you're hitting your shots. Certainly a very fun setup at the end of the day. And here I've got the agency suppressor, the chrome lined barrel, the 5mW laser, the fast mag, and then of course the dual wield option, because 2 is way better than 1 in this case. So yeah, there you have it. Those are effectively the best secondaries to run in Warzone right now, and that's gonna wrap things up for today. If you enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, tips, setups, pretty much everything else going on in the world of COD, this is the place to be. So feel free to subscribe and maybe even turn on those post notifications. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code WhosImmortal for a discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, and Control Freak products, and the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.